Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurial parents to work towards becoming financially invincible to then pass that vital life skill down through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder, financial strategist for Savvy Peacocks. Each week, we'll be delving into a new money topic to get you and your family more money savvy. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Hello, welcome back to my podcast. Thank you so much for listening in. I really appreciate you. Today, I thought I would do a special episode all around the financial things I think you need to know about or take into consideration. And this topic has, funny enough, come up since doing my program with my teenagers, because a lot of the things that I'm teaching them, they're going back to their parents and finding that their parents don't know some of this information. And it's really important that you understand some of the basic financial stuff as you move into adulthood. And I'm sure there are lots of you out there that are listening in that are maybe 35, 40 that still got things that they don't understand. So I'm going to give you a quick overview as to what I think is really important for you to keep your eye on and understand a little bit better. And the reason that I run my program for teenagers and I talk about education around financials is because across the UK, the stats are pretty poor. So on average, 63% of grown adults class themselves as financially literate, which basically means they understand basic financials, which 63% is pretty poor, and it actually ranks us, I think, the 3rd worst country in the world, which is surprising really when you think about all those other countries that are in far worse economic states than we are in the UK. So it kind of illustrates that it doesn't matter if you're earning a larger amount of money. I'm sure a lot of people in the UK are earning more money than other countries across the world. That doesn't necessarily make you financially literate or understand what to do with money. It just means that you live in a country that pays well and the cost of living is higher. So, you know, it's not necessarily a given. And something that I always share with my students is that it's not about how much you earn, it's about what you do with it. I've met clients that are earning 100,000 plus and are pretty poor. They've made some bad decisions with their money. They've spent it on things that don't add value to their life or assets. I've met some people that earn fairly moderately, sort of 25, 30,000, who are far wealthier than those people that earn 100,000 because they've been very wise with their money decisions and what they've chosen to do with their money. So first things first, I would say if you are an adult and you're over 25 and you've been working for some time, then the first thing for you to do is understand your relationship with money. Now, this is important for everybody, but particularly those that have been going through life without particularly understanding about money, just sort of winging it really, living payday to payday. Those are the people that really need to understand their relationship with money. Now, the best way you can do this, if you're in my world, is to go over to my website, which is savvypeacocks.co.uk, and take my money languages quiz, because that will help you understand your relationship with money. I've also got a blog article on there, and I have previously done a podcast episode on that. So please go back over that history and understand your relationship with money, because once you understand your relationship with money, then you can decide, do I need to do something about that? Does that work for the things that I want to achieve in my life? Does that work with my lifestyle? Does that work with my salary and my outgoings? So you can kind of build from there, really. Which brings me on to my second point, is that it's really important that you educate yourself. So I've mentioned there that I've got some podcast episodes and blog articles. There are loads of books you can read. There's YouTube channels these days. I'm sure there are plenty of other podcasts that you could listen to. Social media is also a great place to learn. I tell you where I'm learning quite a lot from at the moment. Please forgive me if you think this is crazy. I'm learning a lot from TikTok right now. You know, there are some great experts on there and they are sharing a wealth of good. So get yourself over to TikTok. You don't have to participate, but if you start telling the algorithm what types of videos you like by liking the ones that are giving you great expert advice, then it will just show you more. So, you know, TikTok, social media can be fantastic to get some free education. And of course, there are plenty of coaches out there that I'm sure will be willing to help and support you. But to begin with, I would go with the free stuff. So reading books, YouTube, social media, that kind of thing. Okay, so the next element that I think surprises a lot of people when I talk about it is being very cautious and careful about entering into a financial relationship with somebody. So first things first, when you meet somebody, a potential love interest, then it is important that you understand their relationship with money and their financial status. I don't want to take the romance out of, you know, you meeting somebody, but before you enter any kind of formal relationship, I would hope that you would try and understand their financial situation. And I'm not talking about how much they earn. I'm talking about that the stuff that I talked about previously, what they do with their money. Do they end up that they don't have any money at the end of the month? Are they somebody that borrows money from friends? Those kind of things are real sort of red flags. You might want to explore their credit report. Now, you don't have to do that. You know, you don't have to do that. They could do that for you. But just understanding a little bit more about your credit scoring is really important. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But the reason I mention that is because if it turns out that you want to then open a bank account with this person, you're going to move in with this person, you're going to rent a property, or you're going to buy a house, or you're going to have your bills in the same joint names, that then ties you to them financially. It creates a financial relationship. And if they are not very good with money and they've got a bad credit score and you've got a great one, then it can have a negative effect on your financial status by being linked to somebody that is not great with their finances. And by the way, you know, this isn't just love interests as well. You know, think about if there's any youngsters that are thinking of going off to university that are listening in, or if you're a parent of somebody that's going off to university, they might all open a bank account for the house that they're all going to share and live in and put the bills through. That then ties that person to the other people that they're having a bank account with, which is risky business. So, you know, just be very conscious of the financial relationship you're getting in. Now, I wouldn't say it necessarily has to hinder the relationship, but it's just something to have a little bit of caution over, I suppose. Maybe my experience has taught me that this is quite a big, important priority because I really value my financial status. It's really important for me and my children to be financially secure, and I wouldn't want anybody to hinder that. So I'm going to be very conscious of getting into any kind of financial relationship with anybody else in the very immediate future. But that's because of my personal values. So you need to work out for yourself and if there's a way around that. So just be conscious of who you're having a financial relationship with. Okay, I mentioned credit scoring. There's quite a lot of work around credit scoring to understand, and I have done a podcast episode about this previously. But one thing I would say is please make sure that you look at your credit scoring on a regular basis. I always recommend an app called Credit Karma, which is with a K, Karma. That's a great way to keep an eye on it regularly for a few reasons. Firstly, you want to make sure it's going up. You want to make sure there's nothing on there that shouldn't be on there. And you also want to make sure that everything is showing as it should be. So it's really important you keep an eye on that and making sure it's an accurate record. And then you can work out whether you need to grow it or not, which again, you could listen back through my credit scoring podcast episode or do some research around how to grow your credit scoring. There's loads to do on that. But the reason your credit score is so important is because it's not for now necessarily, it's for your future self, which comes on to my next point, is that a lot of people are kind of bumbling through life without having much of a plan. And I believe that everybody should have a money plan, because then if you sort of have things mapped out, you know when things might affect you. So I'll give you an example. It may be that you're renting at the moment and you want to buy a house at some time in the future, and you plan out that that might be in 5 years' time. That's a loose goal, and obviously it might be sooner, it might be later. But for you to know that that's one of your goals, or that you're working towards, you can then make a plan to say, okay, what do I need to do to make that happen? And you might be thinking, okay, well, I'll be careful about what extra credit I'm taking on. So I won't take that personal loan, or I'll be really careful with credit cards, or I won't do that car on finance because it could affect my mortgage that I want to take out in the next 5 years or so. So it's making that plan, mapping it out, and what it looks like, and map out everything. When do you want to go on holidays? What big holidays do you want to go on? So in my personal circumstances, I'd love to be able to take my children to Disneyland or Disney World in America. So I'm already planning out, okay, what age is best for the children for me to go? So Addison is 4, he really needs to be 8, which would mean that Violet will be 10, which means that Archer would be 12. Perfect age. Okay, so in 2026 is the year when I want to take the children to Disney World. So how do I need to plan that out? How much money will I need at that point? How much will it cost? Let me make a plan for that money goal. So mapping out things like that can be really important, so that you've got a clear line of sight as to what you're working towards, and you're not just winging it. And that kind of comes the same in business as well. You can't really afford to wing it, which I will talk about in the next episode. So credit scoring, money plan, being careful of your financial relationships, educating yourself, making sure that you're using all the resources around you. And then lastly, I just want to do a quick reminder of an episode I did with Julie Flynn a couple of weeks ago about understanding the possible eventualities that might come your way. So protecting yourself against things that might happen to you. So again, on one page thinking, okay, well, if this happens, what would I do? If that happens, what would I do? What backup plan have I got? What savings have I got? What insurances have I got? So think about your sick pay and how long that pays you for, and how you would pay your bills if you were off sick. I hope it doesn't happen, but you just never know. Okay, so out of all of those things, there is one other thing that I just want to mention to you, and that is to future-proof yourself in your income. And the reason that I mention this is because it's something that I never really thought of before. I was working at the bank, I had a fairly secure job, been there a long time, so I thought even if I go, I'll be made redundant, I'll have a payout. But that was a bit silly of me, really, because I could have been running a little side hustle or starting to build some kind of business or a future for myself. So I put the question to you really is, how secure is your income? How secure is anything after coronavirus? And what can you be doing to future-proof yourself? Where might you be in 5 or 10 years' time? What might happen to you? What situation might you find yourself in? And how are you going to protect your future self in all different elements? So I hope you found that useful. I really enjoyed sharing my top tips with you, as I do with my students. I hope you have an excellent day, whatever else you're up to, and I look forward to welcoming you back into the podcast another time. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to the Money Savvy Parents podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe to be alerted to the new episodes. If you want to learn more about your relationship with money, then start off by taking my Money Languages quiz on my website, www.savvypeacocks.co.uk. Let's remove the taboo from money together.